Part 3. Integrating your story. In this part, we'll see what you can do specifically to make your new story yours. As you start embodying your new empowering story, you'll start feeling, thinking and acting differently, leading you to witness more positive results in your life. 1. Conditioning your mind. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will effect in the material conditions of his life. Men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstances. James Allen, author. To make your new story a reality, you must condition your mind using the power of repetition. Repetition is one of the most powerful tools you can use to change your life. For example, repetition of the same thoughts allows you to cultivate powerful core beliefs that will affect how you feel and act. Daily repetition of simple habits leads to exponential results over time. By reading the same book or taking the same course over and over again, you squeeze the value out of it and gather powerful insights that can change your life. By practicing the same move or playing the same song, you become great at what you're doing. At first, every master has to be a master of repetition. Martial arts experts practice the same punch thousands of times. World-class speakers practice their speeches over and over. Professional golf players rehearse their swing tirelessly. You will never become a master of your life if you don't become a master of repetition. You will never become the hero of your own story unless you refine your model of reality, strengthen your beliefs, and sharpen your skills daily. And it starts by conditioning your mind to ensure you have the right beliefs in place. How to reprogram your mind. To change your story, you must adopt new beliefs. And the way you adopt these new beliefs is by reconditioning your mind through, guess what? Repetition. In the neuroscience field, there is a common saying, neurons that wire together, fire together. Which means, when you repeatedly entertain a specific thought and associate it with the desired feeling, you create new neurological pathways, or strengthen existing ones. Furthermore, the stronger your pathways are, the easier it is for a thought to arise and generate the associated feeling. A good analogy is to compare your brain to a forest. Your thoughts create pathways throughout the forest, connecting the neurons associated with these thoughts. As you entertain a specific thought over and over, you build a wider, firmer, and more defined pathway, which makes it easier to access associated thoughts and feelings. This is why disempowering beliefs can be hard to eliminate. For instance, if you constantly worry about your finances, just thinking about money may generate an instant fear of running out of it. Before you realize it, you may find yourself envisioning worst-case scenarios no matter how unlikely they may be. This is because you had similar thoughts many times before, so negative thoughts about money and the associated feelings easily arise. On the other hand, unfamiliar thoughts don't arise that often. Example feeling is, though you have enough money and that everything is going to be alright. You'll need to think these thoughts over and over again for them to become part of your model of reality. Note that thoughts and beliefs are often irrational. There are people with millions of dollars in their bank account who fear running out of money. A while ago, I listened to an interview with a successful entrepreneur who had sold his company for $100 million. With that much money in his bank account, he surely didn't need to worry about money and could spend as much as he wanted, right? In theory, yes. But he refused to spend more money than he was making in any given month. Also, did I mention he was checking the price of gasoline, looking for the best deal in town? On the other hand, there are people with very little money who never worry about their finances. This shows our problems are often the result of how we think and are not a reflection of reality. Let me give you another example. Imagine you've been resenting someone for years because they never repaid the money they owed you or they betrayed you in some way. Why do you think this feeling of resentment lasted for so long? The answer is simply repetition. By replaying the scene in your mind over and over, you've created a strong emotional connection. with the event and the associated emotion, resentment. If you had shrugged it off right away, refusing to replay the scene in your head, you wouldn't have experienced so much resentment, if any. Now, let's see how you can adopt empowering beliefs that will support your story. To learn in greater depth how to manage your emotions better, you can refer to my book, Master Your Emotions, a practical guide to overcome negativity and better manage your feelings. 2. Adopting new empowering beliefs. If you limit your choices only to what seems possible or reasonable, you disconnect yourself from what you truly want, and all that is left is a compromise. Robert Fritz, author. To change the story you're telling yourself, you must change your beliefs. Earlier, in the section, Creating Your Avatar, you wrote down empowering beliefs for your avatar. It's now time to refine these beliefs and work on implementing them. So, what would you need to believe to ensure your story unfolds the way you want in the coming months and years? An effective way to uncover these beliefs is to ask yourself, why am I not yet living the life I want? What's holding me back? You might want to ask yourself these questions for each major area of your life: career, family, finance, health, personal growth, relationships, and spirituality. As you answer these questions, you'll probably come up with all sorts of excuses. These are usually limiting beliefs that need to be challenged and overcome. For instance, if your excuse is that you don't have enough time, your new belief could be, I make the time to do whatever I'm committed to. If your excuse is that you don't have enough experience, then your new belief could be, I do whatever is necessary to acquire the experience needed to achieve my goals. To implement new beliefs, you need to keep repeating affirmations that support these beliefs every day, as we'll see later. Exercise: write down what holds you back. Using your action guide, write down everything you believe is holding you back in each area of your life. Challenging your beliefs. The next thing you want to do is to challenge your beliefs. To do so, start by asking yourself the question, is this belief absolutely true, all the time and under every circumstance? The point of this question is to look at personal examples that contradict the limiting beliefs you're holding onto. This will help you weaken these beliefs. Let's look at each element in the question. Is this belief absolutely true? The nature of our mind can lead you to overgeneralize or exaggerate. However, things are rarely black or white. Reality is usually far more nuanced. Many of your beliefs are a way for you to simplify reality and sometimes to give yourself excuses not to do something. For instance, perhaps you believe you don't have enough time to do something. But is this absolutely true? Is it truly impossible for you to find the time to do something that matters to you? How much of this belief is true, and how much is an excuse you tell yourself? When we want something badly enough, we usually make the time for it. When you ask yourself whether your limiting belief is absolutely true, you'll find out that it usually isn't. This is how you start challenging your beliefs and weakening them. Try asking yourself the following questions. Is this belief absolutely true? How much of this belief could be untrue or inaccurate? If I were to believe the opposite, what arguments or examples would I come up with? For instance, if your belief is, I don't have the time, how would you defend the opposite belief, I have plenty of time to do whatever matters to me? What would it take for you to believe the opposite? For instance, I have plenty of time to do whatever matters to me. Is this belief true all the time? Your belief might appear true today, but has it always been so? Can you find previous examples that directly contradict your current belief? Limiting beliefs are rarely, if ever, true all the time. When you realize that your belief doesn't withstand the test of time and is being challenged by past examples, it will lose some of its power. For instance, if your belief is that you don't have the time, has this always been the case? Can you think of times in the past when you drastically changed your schedule to make the time for something important to you? To help you in this process, ask yourself the following questions. Is this belief true all the time? What past examples/experiences clearly challenge this belief? What can I do differently now to challenge this belief? Is this belief true under every circumstance? Your belief might be true in certain cases, but it's unlikely to hold true under every circumstance in your life. For instance, you may believe that you're not good enough or smart enough, but this belief is unlikely to be true across the board. It might only apply to certain areas of your life or to specific situations. Maybe you don't feel good enough at your current job, but you feel confident when you play sport, drive your car, or give a speech. This means your belief, "I'm not good enough," isn't true for every circumstance. In fact, not feeling good enough often comes from a lack of experience. When you're excellent at something, you feel confident, don't you? Not feeling good enough can also be the result of your focus. If you fail to acknowledge your successes and beat yourself up whenever you make a mistake, you'll probably feel inadequate. For more on this, refer to the previous section, Changing Your Past. Ask yourself, is this belief true under every circumstance? What examples or past experiences in other areas of my life directly contradict this belief? How can I leverage my experiences in other areas to alter my belief? As you can now see, your beliefs are rarely, if ever, as true as they appeared to be in the first place. Using the question, is this belief absolutely true, all the time and under any circumstance, allows you to start challenging your limiting beliefs. The more counter-examples you can come up with, the better you'll be able to weaken that belief. Later, we'll see how you can use positive affirmations to replace your limiting beliefs with more empowering ones. Now, let's further challenge your beliefs by looking for specific case studies. Be looking for case studies. The next step to implement new beliefs is to look around for evidence. You want to find people who overcame similar limitations, which will help you shatter your model of reality and reassess your existing beliefs. An effective way to remove limiting beliefs is to meet people whose behaviors, actions, and results directly challenge your beliefs. You cannot always meet such people in person, but you can watch their interviews, watch videos they posted online, and read their books. Other people aren't that much different from you. If they can do something, you most likely can too. For instance, maybe you keep complaining about not having enough time. If so, look for people who achieved similar goals despite having a busy schedule. By doing a search online, you can probably find examples of people who created a successful side business while having 3 kids, a full-time job, and a parent to take care of. I remember reading about a woman who worked full-time as a schoolteacher, had 2 young kids, and still managed to write 26 novels in only 1 year, and made a large amount of money doing so. Others would have complained they didn't have enough time to write and give up, or not start at all. A word of caution, avoid using these case studies as a means to beat yourself up and get discouraged. There will always be people out there who are more productive, more disciplined, or smarter than you, which is okay. Use these case studies as sources of inspiration and see what is possible for you as you start believing in yourself and demanding more of yourself. It's highly unlikely you're operating at your very best right now. In short, you can usually do far more than you think you can. So, keep looking for case studies that invalidate or challenge your negative and disempowering beliefs. They have the power to shift your thinking and inspire you to do more with your life. Exercise, look for case studies. Using your action guide, write down 2 or 3 case studies that challenge your beliefs. You can also use a specific notebook or file to record any case studies and other inspiring stories you come across. See creating affirmations to support these beliefs. Now that you have your list of limiting beliefs and have started challenging them, it's time to create affirmations to replace these negative beliefs with more empowering ones. Affirmations are statements that affirm the opposite of your limiting beliefs. Below are examples of limiting beliefs and potential affirmations you can use to challenge them. I don't have enough time. I make the time to do whatever I'm Committed to. I'm not good enough. I am good enough and I enjoy becoming better and better every day. I don't know how to do it. I learn everything I need to achieve my goals. I'm too old. My life experience gives me an edge over other people. I don't have any connections. My determination and consistent work opens one door after another. How to use affirmations effectively. Below are a few simple steps you can follow to make your affirmations as effective as possible. State your affirmation in the present tense. Avoid using negatives and state your affirmation in the positive form. For instance, say, I'm courageous, rather than I'm not afraid anymore. Aim to change your physiological state. Engage your body and experiment with different vocal tones. This will add power to your affirmation. Use the power of visualization. See yourself in specific situations that relate to your affirmation, then try to feel as though what you want is already there. Engaging your emotions this way will make your affirmation significantly more powerful. See also the section Leveraging the Power of Visualization. Bonus. To help eradicate some of your limiting beliefs and rewrite your story, you can use the sentence below. I used to be, but I now allow myself to. Example, I used to be shy, but I now allow myself to be more and more confident with each passing day. It feels great to reach new levels of confidence I've never experienced before. Exercise. Create your own affirmations. Using your action guide, create the affirmations you will use daily to replace your disempowering beliefs with empowering ones. 3. Implementing rock-solid habits. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. John C. Maxwell, leadership expert and pastor. For the most part, what you do every day determines where your avatar will end up 5 years from now. Therefore, to alter your story, you must condition your mind and implement rock-solid daily habits that are in line with your story. We tend to put highly successful people on a pedestal and treat them as if they were superhumans. In reality, many of them are merely ordinary people who've developed extraordinary consistency in what they do every day. For instance, the Olympic swimmer, Michael Phelps, trained every single day from age 12 to 18. How's that for being consistent? What can your avatar do every day to ensure your new story is unfolding smoothly? What does he or she need to practice? Everything is a habit. Few people truly realize that almost everything in life can be developed through habits. Habits aren't just limited to meditating, exercising, or setting goals. They are much more than that. You can implement simple habits that, over the long term, will allow you to learn almost anything, such as boosting your creativity, becoming decisive, being more present, building confidence, developing charisma, feeling more grateful, thinking more critically, turning yourself into a proactive person, and so on. For instance, you can enhance your creativity by coming up with 10 new ideas every day on how to make money, boost your productivity, or better serve your customers. Or you can decide to put yourself in a confident state every time you enter a building or a room. The high-performance coach Brendan Burchard uses these types of triggers throughout his days. As he wrote in his book, High Performance Habits, every time I walk through a doorway, I say to myself, I will find the good in this room. I'm entering this space a happy man ready to serve. Exercise. Cultivating daily habits. What daily habits does your avatar need to cultivate to live its story fully? Using your action guide, write down the habits of your new avatar. In my book, Habits That Stick, I mentioned 7 habits that, I believe, are some of the most powerful ones you can adopt. Consider experimenting with a few of the following habits. Number 1. Setting daily goals. Setting goals every single day will dramatically boost your productivity. 2. Set goals. Just take a pen and a piece of paper and make a list of 3 to 5 tasks you want to accomplish during the upcoming day. Then, prioritize your tasks by numbering them in order of importance. Start by working on your first task and don't move on to the next until you complete the first. Repeat the process. If you can do this daily, you'll get a great deal done. Note that it can take some time before this process becomes a habit. Be patient. Also, make sure your daily goals are in line with your story. What you do every day should move you closer to your ideal vision. Number 2. Reading your goals every day. When things get busy, it's easy to forget about your goals, but reading them daily can prevent this from happening. It's equally important to take a moment to visualize your goals and to remind yourself how achieving them would make you feel. I recommend you set 90-day goals. However, you also want to have annual goals as well as a long-term vision, 3 years or longer. The clearer you can make your vision, the better. Don't worry though. Your vision is never set in stone and can be refined over time. Number 3. Meditating. Meditation provides a vast number of benefits. I won't go through them all, but you can check out the following article to learn more about them. http://liveandare.com/benefits-of-meditation. It mentions over 70 scientific benefits. You can begin by spending just a few minutes a day. There are many ways to meditate, but it can be as simple as closing your eyes and focusing on your breathing. There are also several good books for beginners to help you get started. Number 4. Practicing gratitude. Forgetting to express gratitude is a major cause of unhappiness. We tend to take everything for granted, failing to appreciate the little things in life, or even the big ones. Every day during my morning ritual, I ask myself what I'm grateful for. I then spend a few minutes thinking about everything that crosses my mind. Or I read through my gratitude journal, which consists of positive reviews I received for my books and compliments of all kinds. Now, you don't have to come up with anything major. Below are a few examples of things you could be grateful for. Being granted one more day on this planet. Having family members and friends who care about you and who you care about in turn. Having food, shelter, running water, and electricity. Having access to an endless supply of knowledge at little to no cost. Thanks to the internet. Being able to communicate with your friends and family with your phone, and so on. Number 5. Consuming motivational books and videos. In the words of Zig Ziglar, people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Feeding your mind with inspirational material on a daily basis will help you stay motivated for the long haul. If you can't find the time to read, you can listen to uplifting audiobooks during your daily commute. Remember, if you don't choose to feed your mind with positivity, someone else will feed it with negativity. Number 6. Self-reflecting. Self-reflection is one of the best ways to supercharge your growth. Why not take a few minutes every evening to reflect upon your day? Consider asking yourself the following questions. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? What can I learn from today? What will I do differently in the future? Number 7. Exercising daily. You already know you should exercise each day, but are you doing it? No need to buy fancy gym equipment or even to get a gym membership. Simple activities like walking or running can be enough, as is recommended in an article on Harvard Medical School's website. https://www.health.harvard.edu/staying-healthy/walking your steps to health. As a rough guide, the current American Heart Association/American College of Sports Medicine standards call for able-bodied adults to do moderate intensity exercise, such as brisk walking, for at least 30 minutes on 5 days each week, or intense aerobic exercise, such as running, for at least 20 minutes 3 days each week. The article further states, in a report that included findings from multiple well-done studies, researchers found that walking reduced the risk of cardiovascular events by 31%, and cut the risk of dying by 32%. So, even if you hate physical activity, why not go for a walk every day? You can even use that time to feed your mind with educational and/or inspirational material by listening to audiobooks. Note that each of the 7 habits mentioned above will improve your emotional state. For example, working on inspiring goals every day will motivate you. Achieving small daily goals consistently will boost your self-esteem. Practicing gratitude, meditating, and or exercising will enhance your well-being. Why does it matter? Because your ability to condition your mind and take control of your emotional state is key to changing anything in your life. The better you feel, the more creative, resilient, and productive you will become. As you feel better, you'll have more fuel in your emotional tank to move beyond your comfort zone and make positive changes in your life. Have you ever tried to make difficult changes when you were tired or depressed? It's damn hard, isn't it? If you were to stick to one new habit every day, which one would make the biggest difference in your life over the long term? To learn more on this topic, refer to Shawn Achor's book, The Happiness Advantage: How a Positive Brain Fuels Success in Work and Life. If necessary, reread the part in this book entitled, Pushing the Reset Button. In the section, Acting in the Present. B. How to implement habits that stick. Now, let's see briefly how to implement habits you can stick to over the long term. 1. Define your habits clearly. The first thing to do is define the new habits you want to implement with as much clarity as possible. Make sure they are measurable, i.e., make sure you know whether you performed them or not. For instance, they could include a specific number of repetitions, doing 10 push-ups, or a duration. Meditating for 5 minutes. 2. Start small. The second thing you want to do is to start small. A good question to ask yourself is, am I confident I can stick to this habit every day even when I'm tired or don't feel like doing it? The idea is to make your habit small enough to avoid self-sabotage while staying consistent over the long term. For instance, you could decide to meditate for a couple of minutes or to go for a 5-minute run. Exercise: write down small habits. Using your action guide, write down small habits you could implement easily. To learn more about the power of tiny habits, you can refer to Stephen Guise's book, Mini Habits. 3. Set triggers. It's easy to skip habits. To avoid doing so, make sure you have a clear trigger for your habits. A good example of a trigger is waking up. For instance, you may decide to meditate as soon as you wake up. Another example could be going to work. You may choose to visualize your ideal future as soon as you leave your house on your daily commute. When setting triggers, the key is to make sure they are reliable, i.e., they should be something you do every day, such as taking a shower, waking up, eating breakfast, or leaving home. You want them to act as anchors. If your triggers are inconsistent, you are more likely to forget about your daily habits. So, what specific triggers will you use for your small habits? 4. Stack your habits. Another powerful thing to do is to stack, or group, your habits together. This will prevent you from skipping them. For instance, you could implement a morning routine. I love morning routines, which, I believe, are some of the most powerful things you can do to improve your life. Imagine if you could stack the most powerful habits together and do all of them first thing in the morning. How would this change your life over time? To give you an example, while writing this book, my morning ritual is getting out of bed immediately and smiling, meditating for 20 minutes, drinking 2 glasses of water, stretching, practicing gratitude, setting goals for the day, and writing for at least 45 minutes. Now it's your turn. How could you stack your habits together? 5. Undertake a 30-day challenge. 30-day challenges can be incredibly powerful. This is because they force you to stay consistent and help you build momentum. Look at the habits you stacked together previously. Make them part of your morning ritual and commit to performing this ritual for at least the next 30 days. Then, see how it impacts your life. To learn in more depth how to implement rock-solid habits, you can refer to my book, Habits That Stick. To learn how to create an exciting morning ritual, refer to my book, Wake Up Call. 4. Using self-talk to change your story. It's the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Muhammad Ali, professional boxer. When things are difficult, do you encourage yourself or do you beat yourself up. To a large extent, your internal self-talk determines whether you will become the hero of your story or the victim of your circumstances. Remember, you shape your story by the way you think, feel, and act. What you say to yourself affects your thoughts and feelings. This is why it's essential you learn to control your self-talk. The martial artist, Bruce Lee, and the boxer, Muhammad Ali both understood that the words they used shaped their reality. For instance, Muhammad Ali said, "I am the greatest, I said that even before I knew I was." Bruce Lee developed unshakable confidence that, in his own words, went beyond even faith. "I feel I have this great creative and spiritual force within me that is greater than faith, greater than ambition, greater than confidence, greater than determination, greater than vision. It is all these combined. My brain becomes magnetized with this domination force which I hold in my hand." What about you? Is your self-talk empowering you, or is it holding you back? By paying more attention to your self-talk, you'll better understand the story you're telling yourself. Practicing positive self-talk. Your ability to talk to yourself positively will make a major difference in your life. Of course, you won't always be nice to yourself, but there are many things you can do to improve the quality of your self-talk and make sure you remain positive and optimistic even when things do go as planned, and they sometimes won't. Let's review some specific ways you can talk to yourself in your day-to-day life. 1. Talking to yourself with compassion. The impact of your words depends heavily on your emotional state. For instance, if you're feeling sad or mildly depressed, saying to yourself, "I'm totally confident," or "I can achieve anything I want," might not help. This is because the gap between your emotional state and the emotions you are trying to induce with your words is too wide. In such situations, it is more effective to talk to yourself in a compassionate way. For instance, you could say things such as, "It's okay. Just relax," or "I know you're not feeling great right now, but you have good intentions and things will improve soon." Now, when it comes to self-talk, the most important component is self-compassion. Self-compassion will allow you to bend but not break. It will help you bounce back quickly instead of being depressed for days on end. Personally, learning to talk to myself with compassion has been a major breakthrough for me and has been extremely beneficial in the past few years. By showing yourself compassion, you acknowledge the fact you're imperfect and struggle to grow, just like anybody else. To transition effectively from beating yourself up to treating yourself with compassion, you must get rid of a huge misconception: the idea you need to be harsh to yourself lest you become lazy. Is this true? No. You won't become lazy overnight just because you suddenly stop beating yourself up. In fact, you're probably getting tasks done in spite of beating yourself up, rather than because of it. Not convinced yet? Try this. For the next week, I encourage you to undertake a 7-day self-compassion challenge. During these 7 days, as soon as you notice you are beating yourself up, stop. Then, talk to yourself with compassion. As you practice compassionate self-talk, you'll become more resilient and your mental suffering will lessen. Below are some examples of sentences you can tell yourself. I'm doing okay. I'm doing great. I have good intentions. I'm not alone. There are other people with similar issues. I just have to do what I can and keep moving forward at my own pace. When you talk to yourself with compassion, imagine you're talking to a loved one. Use the same words and emotions you would use with them. To learn in greater depth how to develop self-compassion, refer to the section, Cultivating Self-Compassion as Part of Your Story. 2. Giving yourself options, not commands. How often do you should yourself? That is, how often do you tell yourself you should do X, Y, or Z, whether it is working out, waking up earlier, or eating more healthily? I understand there are tons of things you wish you could do better, and so do I, but continuously blaming yourself for all the things you should do isn't particularly motivating. If anything, you'll only end up feeling guilty. Of course, we all should ourselves, but I invite you to do it less and less frequently. A good way to do so is to use could instead of should. For instance, I should work out. I could work out. I should work harder. I could work harder. I should wake up earlier. I could wake up earlier. Using could allows you to let go of your current expectations and reduce feelings of guilt. It can help you lessen inner resistance and, as counterintuitive as it may sound, may lead you to take more, not less action. Could versus want. Once you've replaced I should with I could, you can go on to replace I could with I want. I should work out. I could work out. I want to work out. Then, ask yourself, why do I want it? Why is it important? Come up with a list of reasons why it's important. When you have specific reasons for doing something, you'll usually end up doing it. On the other hand, if you feel resistance, you can challenge your should. I should work out. Should I? You'll often discover that some of your shoulds are expectations you've internalized rather than things you really need or want to do. Need versus want. You can do the same exercise replacing need with want. I need to work out. I want to work out. Then, challenge that statement as well. I need to work out. Do I? So, do you should yourself more than necessary? The word should is often the reflection of self-imposed standards you expect to meet before you can be happy. As you frequently fail to meet them, you end up feeling guilty and unhappy. Practice replacing should with could and need with want and see how it changes the way you feel and act. Alternatively, you can also replace should with could for things that don't concern you directly. For instance, there should be no war. There could be no war. People should be nicer. People could be nicer. My friends should be more supportive. My friends could be more supportive. When you use should to describe things outside of your influence, you fight against reality and always lose. Reality just is, and it shouldn't be any different. On the other hand, when you use could, you acknowledge that things could be different in the future if you, or other people, do something to affect the situation. This is a much more empowering statement. 3. Appreciating yourself and the world. Gratitude is another powerful tool that can dramatically change the way you think, feel, and act. It helps you focus on all the things you have instead of all the things you lack. If we don't practice gratitude consciously, we'll tend to adopt a mentality of entitlement, failing to appreciate all the gifts we receive from the world. You can use some of the sentences below to express your appreciation. Thank you, a great mantra to adopt. I like the fact that. For instance, I like the fact that I'm pursuing my dreams instead of giving up on them. I'm really grateful for. For instance, I'm really grateful for having a roof over my head / friends who care about me etc. I acknowledge myself for instance, I acknowledge myself for trying to become better or having good intentions. 4. Celebrating your accomplishments. Do you take the time to celebrate all your accomplishments? Most people don't, but they willingly criticize themselves for all their so-called failures. It's okay to be proud of yourself and what you've been able to accomplish in your life. Don't wait for anybody else to be proud of you because you can sometimes wait a long time. You can start celebrating your accomplishment using the sentences below. I'm proud of myself because I did a good job with. I feel good about. So, what are you proud of? 5. Encouraging yourself. A real coach can only be with you from time to time, but you are with yourself 24/7. Therefore, you must learn how to be your own coach and encourage yourself. There are better ways to motivate yourself than to beat yourself up. Here are some examples of sentences you can use to encourage yourself. I can do this, a good mantra to adopt. It's possible. If others can, I can. So, what could you tell yourself to keep your motivation high and persevere when the going gets tough? 6. Avoiding distorting facts. We often distort facts, and this can lead us to experience unnecessary mental suffering. It can be the case when we play the victim or when we overgeneralize. For instance, a common way we do this is when we use Always and never as in the examples below. Why does this always happen to me? I'm always late. I never do things right. I never finish what I start. These types of statements are seldom accurate but can have a major negative impact on your emotional well-being. So, start noticing whenever you use always or never and ask yourself whether it is true. Below are some alternatives. Why does this always happen to me? It may have happened a few times but it's not always the case. I'm always late. I'm sometimes late, but I'm usually on time. I never do things right. I believe I could have done a better job this time. I never finish what I start. Sometimes, I leave projects unfinished. Can you see the difference? Notice when you distort facts and change it up. By using sentences that put things into perspective and better reflect reality. 7. Believing in yourself. The way you talk to yourself is a great indication of your level of confidence. The stronger your self-confidence, the more likely you are to achieve your goals. As we've seen before, your self-talk is directly related to the models of reality you choose to adopt, whether consciously or unconsciously. A good way to improve your self-talk and boost your confidence is to repeat specific phrases that reflect your core beliefs, or your models of reality. We already discussed some of them in the section, Powerful Beliefs. Below are some examples. If others can, I can. I can always improve. Success is inevitable. I am responsible for everything in my life. I need to get better for things to get better. You might want to take the time to review the most powerful core beliefs you currently hold, or want to hold, and remind yourself of your core beliefs daily. 8. Transforming yourself. This goes hand in hand with the previous point. You want to replace your limiting beliefs with empowering ones. One way to do this is to repeat your affirmations every day. By now, you should have already crafted your affirmations and, as a reminder, some examples are: I don't have time. I make the time to do whatever I'm committed to. I don't know how to do it. I learn everything I need to achieve any goal I have. So, keep repeating your affirmations in the morning, and throughout your day, and see how it changes the way you perceive yourself. Be asking yourself better questions. Self-talk is a conversation you're having with yourself and, as with most conversations, you ask and answer questions. But do you know what type of questions you're asking yourself? The reason questions are so powerful is that they guide your thinking. Great questions invite great answers. Poor questions invite poor answers. Here are examples of what I mean by poor questions. Why does this always happen to me? Why am I always the one who fill in the blank? Why can't I do anything right? What did I do to deserve that? Are there any good answers to these questions? The point is, your mind will come up with an answer to any question you ask. So, make sure you ask intelligent questions. Below are some examples of good questions to ask yourself. 1. How questions. How questions are great because they foster creativity and invite ideas and solutions. For instance, whenever you catch yourself using the words I can't, immediately replace these words with a question starting with, how can I? I can't make money doing what I love. How can I make money doing what I love? I can't improve. How can I become better at this? I can't do this. How can I make it work? Similar expressions are, what could I do to, or what would it take to? What could I do to make money doing what I love? What would it take to make money doing what I love? 2. What if questions. What if questions are also effective at stimulating your imagination and boosting your creativity. They open you up to new possibilities without requiring immediate answers. What if I could make money doing what I love? What if I could become better at this? What if I could make this thing work? A word of caution: avoid asking negative questions such as, what if it doesn't work? Instead, replace them with their opposite, in this case. What if it does work? Similar expressions are, what if it's possible? Or, imagine if. What if it's possible for me to make money doing what I love? Imagine if I could make money doing what I love. 3. Who questions. There are people out there who can help you change your life. They have the knowledge, mindset, skills, and resources you need to move from where you are to where you want to be. Below are some good who questions. Who do I need to be surrounded with to become the person I want to be? Who has already achieved the goals I am trying to achieve? Who has the resources I need? In essence, the who questions boil down to, who can help me? 4. Where questions. These questions aim to help you find the right environment or the right people to surround yourself with. Some examples are: where can I go to meet my tribe? Where should I spend most of my time to achieve the results I want? Writing down your answers. Our mind is great at coming up with ideas, but it does a poor job at sorting them out and processing them effectively. This is why you want to write down your questions and answer them using pen and paper. The writing process will help you organize your thoughts, giving you a more solid ground on which to base your thinking. This, in turn, will allow you to produce better answers. So, keep asking yourself empowering questions. Then, for the really important questions, make sure you put it in writing and spend time coming up with as many great answers as possible. To sum up, your self-talk has a major impact on how you feel, think, and act. Make sure you're continuously encouraging yourself and asking yourself empowering questions. Now, let's see how you can use the power of visualization to make positive changes to your story. 5. Leveraging the power of visualization. We have to see ourselves there long before it happens. Eric Thomas, motivational speaker. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools you have. Anyone who has ever achieved extraordinary things understood the power of visualization and used it to their advantage. Professional athletes, chess players, army generals, CEOs, and other successful people use visualization on a daily basis. Personally, I used visualization and imagination to turn myself into a full-time writer. I didn't wait for the approval of others. I didn't expect people to support me or believe in me. I visualized what I wanted my life to be and I worked every day to make that vision a reality. Like anybody else, you have the same power, the power to turn your vision into reality, the power to change from who you think you are, or should be, to who you want to become. And it all starts by using the power of your imagination. It is often said that imagination is more powerful than willpower, because your willpower is limited but your imagination is limitless. You might say you don't know how to visualize. However, the truth is that you visualize every day. The problem is that you often visualize the future you're afraid of instead of the one you desire. For instance, what we call worrying is a type of visualization. It happens when you project yourself into the future, seeking to anticipate what may happen. When you imagine yourself failing to achieve your goals or getting fired from your job, it's also visualization. What you want to do is to reclaim your imagination and use it to create the life you desire. Below is an example that illustrates the power of visualization. In the 1960s, an experiment was conducted to evaluate students on their ability to make free throws in basketball under various conditions. Students were divided into 3 groups. The first group was asked to train 20 minutes a day for 20 days, a second was asked not to train at all, and the third was asked to imagine themselves making free throws for 20 minutes a day over 20 days. Interestingly, the group of students who practiced only in their imagination performed almost as well as those who practiced in reality. Specifically, those who practiced in reality improved their scores by 24% while those who visualized improved by 23%. As expected, the students who refrained from both visualization and physical training showed no improvement. This experiment has been replicated many times since and has continued to produce similar results. Rehearsing your future. Imagination is a preview of your future. You can use it to rehearse your ideal future. Studies have shown that your mind can barely tell the difference between an imagined experience and a real one. Consequently, the more you visualize something, the more neural connections you create in your brain. And the more real it feels to you. When you believe something is already happening, it impacts how you think, feel, and behave, making it more likely for you to achieve the results you are after. This is why having a compelling story is so important. You must know where your avatar wants to go so that you can rehearse your ideal future and prepare for it. Whatever your vision, it must be in your thoughts for months or years before it actually happens. You need to be prepared so you can seize opportunities the moment they arrive. You must accomplish it in your mind thousands of times with intense clarity until you are absolutely certain that it's going to happen. If, for instance, you want to become the CEO of a company, you should constantly be thinking of what you'd do if you were the CEO of that company. What would your hiring process be? What would the core value of your company be? How would you motivate your employees? What kind of corporate culture would you create? What would you do differently? What would your typical day look like? And so on. The more specific you're thinking, the more believable it will be to you. Now, let's look at a few simple steps you can take to visualize effectively. B. How to practice visualization. Below are a few simple steps to get started with visualization. 1. Relax. The first step is to relax. The more relaxed you are, the more effective visualization will be. As you put yourself in a deep state of relaxation, you'll gain better access to your subconscious. As a result, your subconscious will accept what you visualize more readily and without the mental noise and objections you often get from your conscious mind. Also, remember that your mind is at its most receptive first thing in the morning and last thing at night, before you go to bed. These are great times to practice visualization. 2. Visualize what you want. The second step is to visualize what you want. Your imagination is limitless. Therefore, there is no situation you cannot create in your mind. Whatever you decide to visualize, try to make it as specific and clear as possible. An effective way to do so is by creating a mental movie. You want to be there, as if it were happening right here, right now. Remember, your mind can barely tell the difference between an imagined experience and a real one. Think about it this way: when you think of past events, do you remember specific memories or just fixed images? You want to create mental movies similar to the memories you would have if what you desire had already happened or was actually happening. For instance, if you want to travel the world, don't just think of the name of the countries you want to visit. See yourself walking in the street, visiting famous monuments, and eating at local restaurants. Be specific. Where are you staying? What are you eating? Who are you with? Visualizing is not merely daydreaming. The "one day I will" type of thinking seldom, if ever, materializes. This is nothing more than wishful thinking. Conversely, with visualization, there is desire and commitment. It doesn't mean you need to be tense or stressed about it though. Just relax and trust that your desire and commitment will help you get where you want to be. 3. Feel as if you're already there. Emotions drive actions. When you feel good, you're more creative, more resourceful, and more productive. You readily take the actions you need to achieve your goals. Therefore, whenever you visualize, engage as many of your emotions as possible. Feel excited about your vision. More specifically, feel as if you were already the person you want to be, having the things you want to have. For instance, if you want your avatar to be confident, see yourself being confident in a variety of situations. Create a mental movie and revisit it over and over again. Feel confident while you make a presentation at work. See yourself relaxed as you attend a social event. See people around you being friendly and receptive. Instead of trying hard to reach somewhere you're not, realize you can be there in your mind right now. Why? Because you have the incredible ability to feel the way you would feel if you were already there. The reason feelings are important is because they allow you to shift your beliefs quickly and profoundly. As your beliefs change, your subconscious will seek to align reality around you with your new reality. As a result, you'll find yourself taking more actions to close the gap between where you are and where you believe you must be. As the motivational speaker, Les Brown said, "You don't get what you want in life. You get who you are. And you can change who you are by changing the way you feel. If you feel any resistance when you visualize, acknowledge it, let it go, and refocus on the object of your visualization. 4. Focus on what you want as often as possible. Here again, repetition is key. Spend time every day to visualize the person you want to become. Step into your vision first thing in the morning and see yourself being the person you want to be. Keep visualizing throughout the day. Then, do the same at night before going to bed. Keep feeling as though you're already that person. Assume that the qualities you seek to develop are already inside you, just waiting to be uncovered. The repetition of an emotionalized vision will lead you to take different actions. Over time, these new actions will move you closer to the person you want to be. These are the 4 simple steps to effective visualization. The bottom line is this: you can tap into your imagination 24/7. Therefore, make sure you use it to create the life you want, not to revisit unhappy memories or worry about your future. What you think about often and for long enough will tend to become your reality, but only if you take action. Of course. Exercise, practice visualization. Using your action guide, practice visualizing the person you want to be. Every day, each time you wake or each time you go to bed. 6. Cultivating self-compassion as part of your story. Remember, you have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. Louise L. Hay, author and founder of Hay House. Life seldom proceeds as planned. You may fall short of your goals, fail to follow through your commitment, and, at times, become angry at yourself. 4. Your mistakes. You may even get sucked into a whirlpool of negativity, feeling as though you are never going to escape from it. However, this is never the case. Your mind is merely playing tricks on you. You can be depressed for days, weeks, or even months, but this negative state is often temporary, like clouds in the sky. You are the sun hiding behind these clouds. Just because you've been depressed for months doesn't mean you're a lesser person now than you were before. Your essence hasn't changed. I encourage you to cultivate self-compassion and to make it part of your story. As you move toward your vision, you will inevitably experience negative emotions. This is normal. And while it may seem to be preventing you from living your story, it's a natural step and, by no means does it invalidate the story you want to be the hero of. Know that everybody on this planet experiences self-doubt. That includes successful people you may look up to. In fact, some of the most accomplished people see themselves as frauds. They live in constant fear of being unmasked. You too may sometimes experience feelings of inadequacy. Perhaps your hopes and aspirations have been crushed time and time again. Perhaps you compare yourself with the millions of people out there who are smarter, wiser, stronger, happier, or more successful than you will ever be. I experience self-doubt and temporary lack of motivation. And, as the author of books such as Master Your Emotions and Master Your Motivation, I can easily start beating myself up and call myself a fraud. However, I also understand that I'm just a human being. As such, I don't expect myself to be happy all the time. More importantly, I refuse to let a temporary lack of motivation or moments of self-doubt stop me from pursuing my vision. Giving up is neither in my interest nor in the interests of people who will read my books. Perhaps not feeling good enough is part and parcel of being human. But don't take it as an invitation to entertain the story that you might be inadequate. Instead, accept these feelings of inadequacy as they arise and treat yourself with compassion. Always. The point is, no one is perfect. Taking a step back, looking at the broader picture, and acting with self-compassion are key components of our story. When we refuse to embrace self-compassion, we end up in dark places. We harm ourselves and make ourselves miserable. As a result, instead of being a tiny part of our story, an inconsequential blip along the way, our failures and setbacks become our entire story, the story that says we are failures. So, whenever you start being too harsh on yourself, recognize the situation and give yourself some slack. Realize that negative emotions distort reality and make things seem far worse than they really are. Then, talk to yourself with self-compassion. What you say to yourself matters, especially in these situations. Below are a few specific strategies you can use to manage your feelings better and act in a more self-compassionate way. Remember how you felt and what you thought before you start experiencing negative feelings. Sometimes, you may start feeling sad or slightly depressed without really understanding why. Perhaps you were tired and over-dramatized things. Perhaps you've been dwelling in the past. Perhaps you've been disappointed by your lack of success. Whatever it may be, I invite you to remember the moment you started becoming negative. First, try to identify the specific event or thought that may have led you to change from being happy or neutral to feeling sad. Did someone say something to you? Did you dwell on a past event? Did you sleep badly and now feel tired? Second, ask yourself whether this is really a big deal. Is it really worth being sad for days? Finally, try to remember how you felt before slipping into negativity. Return to the place where you were feeling good and optimistic. Remember the feelings you had at that time. Focus on the positive thoughts you were having. And remember the specific tasks you were working on at the time. This process can help you improve your emotional state and return to a more positive place more quickly. Remember past times when you felt bad. Remember times when you felt terrible and realize that all of them eventually passed. No matter how bad you feel now, this shall pass too. Look at the bigger picture. Take a step back and study the bigger picture. You might have encountered a setback, but if you look at the long-term situation, is it really that big of a deal? Will it matter in 1 year? 5 years? 20 years? It's easy to lose perspective, which brings us to our next point. Get an external perspective. As a writer, I spend more time alone than most people with a regular 9-to-5 job. As a result, I can easily lose perspective and start worrying about petty things that don't really matter. When this happens, I find it particularly useful to talk to friends who will help me see the bigger picture, remind me of how much progress I've already made, and make me feel much better about myself. The point is, as soon as you find yourself ruminating about something negative, try to have a chat with your friend. However, make sure you choose someone who is positive and will uplift you, not someone who risks dragging you further down. Understand you are not alone in this situation. Part of being self-compassionate is realizing that you are not alone. Whatever issue you have, there are many people around the world who face, or have faced, similar issues. You don't need to suffer alone or feel like things unfairly happen to you, and only you. So, remember that many people are in the same situation as you and it is okay. Avoid adding oil to the fire by beating yourself up about it. Give yourself a break. When you are in a negative state of mind, the last thing to do is to beat yourself up. It will only make things worse. Instead, give yourself a break. If you want to criticize yourself, you can always do that later. This is what I call adopting an "I'll beat myself up later" approach. Talk to yourself with compassion. Using self-talk to change your story. As we've previously seen, the way you talk to yourself has a huge impact on the actions you will take, or fail to take, and the results you'll get in your life. Thus, learn to talk to yourself with compassion. Avoid buying into the idea that criticizing yourself will help you in any way. In my experience, it doesn't, and be your best supporter instead. Avoid comparing yourself to others. If you want to be depressed, there is nothing better than comparing yourself to others. Just look at all the people who are smarter, wiser, wealthier, or more successful than you. Add to that your friends who share their amazing life on social media, and you have the recipe for prolonged unhappiness and frustration. However, in reality, most people aren't as happy as they appear to be, and even if they are, what does it have to do with you? Happiness is an inside job that comes mostly from working toward worthy goals, acknowledging your progress, nurturing your relationships, and celebrating all the good things in your life. I accept the struggle. Failures are inevitable. However, they're part of your story and can become invaluable lessons, but only if you are willing to learn from them and keep moving forward. While many people are sitting on the bench, you are in the field, fighting your battles. Treat setbacks and struggles as the proof that you are embracing your story. Therefore, accept your challenges, be self-compassionate, and keep putting one foot in front of the other. If you feel sad or depressed for too long and find yourself unable to cultivate self-compassion, I would invite you to ask for help. Part of being self-compassionate means being able to ask specialists for their support when needed, knowing you are worthy of being helped. Conclusion. Thank you so much for reading this book until the end. By doing so, you have demonstrated your commitment to become the hero of your story. Now, you must pursue your journey on your own. So, keep upgrading your model of reality by adopting empowering beliefs. Make friends with your past by remembering wonderful memories and your great accomplishments. Use your imagination to step into your ideal future. And surround yourself with positive people while feeding your mind with positivity. Finally, remember to treat yourself with compassion. Always. As you change the way you think, feel, and act, you will change who you are, what you do, and what you can achieve. Therefore, go write the story you want to tell your grandchildren one day. The story you are the hero of. It's your story and only you can live it only.